So today's one, which is, it's down to a narrow teaching about creating a spiritual screen. So first of all, we can say, what is a spiritual screen? Well, quite simply, it's a spiritual barrier that blocks you or detaches evil influence from you. So then we go, there's always one piece of truth always opens up a whole more bunch of questions. Because from that you could say, well, where do evil influences come from? Or why are evil influences even influencing me? So that's the thing about, as we discover teachings and happy science, one little bit of truth suddenly adds to a whole new bunch of questions. So this quest for knowledge, this quest for understanding the truth, is a wonderful path, and it never ends. And for me, the most joyous part about it is all these teachings coming from Master Okawa answer every question that you could ever have. So yes, it is a spiritual barrier that blocks or detaches evil influence from you. So why do you need a spiritual screen? Well, the first point of this would be a spiritual barrier is necessary for spiritual concentration. Now, I don't know if anybody here practices meditation, but if you practice meditation, this is a time where your mind becomes very open to an influence. And it can be influenced by angels, or it could be influenced by negative spirits. It depends, as I was saying before, on the state of your mind, on whatever frequency your mind is at. Because our minds are a little bit like a radio. If I take a radio, I've got AM and FM, okay? If I'm on an AM station, it's impossible to pick up FM. But if I'm on FM, I cannot pick up AM. So if let's just say that AM was a lower level and it was maybe a realm of negative spirits, and if I'm in that level, tuning in, I'm going to hear the voices or thoughts of negative spirits. If FM was a heavenly realm, I'd be picking up the thoughts or ideas from the heavenly world. But all these thoughts are always being transmitted from the other world. So the thoughts are always there, but it's whether or not we're picking up on them or not. So a spiritual barrier enables us to block off these thoughts and protect ourselves. But who are we protecting ourselves from? Well, the first group is lost spirits who are wandering the earth trying to influence the living. Okay, so I'm going to cover 3 different types of spirits here, but the first one is lost spirits who are wandering the earth trying to influence the living. So who are they? Okay, so as I said before, all of us have a soul, and the core of the soul is the mind. But there's a lot of people in the world today, and I guess you guys would know a lot of people yourselves, that don't believe in life after death, or they don't believe in the soul. And they think, this is me, this is it, and when I die, it's all over. Right? So these people, that when they die, and they have an accident or something, or they die in whatever way, and then they find themselves still alive, even if an angel comes to them, tells them, you've died. Master Okawa said it's very unusual, or it's a little frustrating, and it's quite incredible in many ways, but they don't believe it. They continue to argue, I'm not dead, look at me, I'm alive, can't you see that I'm alive? And many of these souls they have strong attachments to this earth. And because they haven't gained any spiritual knowledge, and your mind becomes everything in the other world, they start living their life as if they're still alive. And they become attached to this world. So just imagine if it was yourself and you were so attached to this world, where would you go? If you've died and you've got your spiritual body and you still think that's you, where would you go? You'd go home. You'd go to your family. And you're talking to them and they can't hear you. You're saying, hey, I'm here, why don't you talk to me? And you do whatever you could to try to let them know you're still existing. And they can actually become bothersome. And in their efforts to try to persuade people, they also go to their companies or they go to their schools, but they end up just becoming lost spirits. There's actually also another group of spirits that are earthbound. And these are people who commit suicide. Master Okawa said that many people who commit suicide don't believe in life after death because they think if I kill myself, it'll all be over. But in actual fact, we all have a life plan. As I was saying before, we're born from the other world into this world. But when we came to this world, we had a plan on how long am I going to live? How long will I live? Will I live to be 70? Will I live to be 80? And unfortunately, if we take our lives early, we end up having to spend our time still on earth until our time was up. So we end up with these lost spirits as well. Now often they are trying to influence other people to get them to commit suicide as well, to alleviate their suffering, so they've got friends to be with them. And sometimes we'll find in groups of people where there are friends, one will commit suicide and then another friend will commit suicide, and often that's because they're being influenced by their friend from the other world. So this is one group of people that we have to protect ourselves with through the spiritual screen. The other side is spirits that have fallen to hell, who try to escape their suffering by possessing people on earth. So as I said, when we die, we're all going to go somewhere, and depending on the state of your mind, it will determine where you go. Now, just as there's many stages in heaven, I mean, at the top we have Alcantari, It's the same as God or Buddha, whatever you want to call it, but Master Okawa's revealed the name, and Alcantara means light of the earth. So at the very top there's this consciousness where all the teachings emanate from, and below this consciousness is the great saviors, you know, people like Jesus, people like Muhammad, people like Confucius, great teachers like that. And then there's the archangels, and then there's the angels, and it carries down to the leaders, and then it carries down to, you know, normal people who are giving love, and then underneath the normal people giving love is the people who don't even believe in life after death, living very much like they're on earth. And then underneath that, at the very bottom of it all, is people who are taking love, people who don't mind if they cause suffering to other people, people are thinking about themselves all the time, and really what we call taking love rather than giving love. You know, the mind of God, or the true divine nature we have, is a mind that says, I want to make people happy, and when I see people happy, I feel happy, and I want to do things to make people happy. And this is a feeling that's generated in the heart, and it makes us happy. And this is the love that fills the universe, and the universe is full of this energy. It's the energy of God, and when you wish good things on other people, you feel happy in your heart. There's a warmth there. But some people haven't discovered that, and they go seeking happiness by trying to take from other people. Well, this is the hell realm, so it's a realm of negative conceptual energy. But just as the spirit world has the highest all the way down, there's many levels, hell also has many levels. There's also a very shallow hell, where some people, when they live their lives in a materialistic way or with a little bit of negativity, they might fall to this hell, but it doesn't take long for them to change their mind and work their way out of hell and get back into the heavenly world again. It's just a short time. You know, it could be anything from a few years, or it could be for a few weeks, a few months, a few years, whatever. But then as you go down, there becomes like the devils, you know, and those devils, they've been there for such a long time, they try to influence people on earth. So they've been there for so long, and it's so hard to get out, that they actually want to pull people into hell. Because, look, you see that in this world, you know, some people who are suffering, and they feel they can alleviate their suffering by causing other people suffering. There's a wonderful picture in one of the Happy Science movies, because there's 8 movies in Happy Science, that shows there's like these people trying to climb their way out of hell, right? And there's a guy, he's almost at the top, he's just about made it to the top, but there's another spirit behind him who sees that this one's just about made it to the top, and his jealousy grabs him by the legs and pulls him down, because he doesn't want him getting out before he gets out. And that's the mindset, and we know in the world there is a little bit of that mindset. It's a possible mindset, you know, that anybody could have. So there is this world. So these spirits in hell also try to influence us, right? Now this other group that is here, and this, you may never have known about these, but the strong desires or negative thoughts directed at you by living people. So there's such a thing as a living ghost. Now, if you have a strong thought, or somebody has strong thoughts towards you, now, you know, I'm lucky, I'm not very attractive, but if I was an attractive woman, right, and I have many guys with their strong thoughts towards me, strong lustful thoughts, people may think it's great to be a beautiful woman, but in actual fact, in today's world, being a beautiful woman with these strong thoughts coming from men, these thoughts go out and attach themselves to these women, and it's very hard for them to create a calm mind, because they've got so many attachments sticking onto them from other men in the world. But it can also happen with jealousy or negativity or hatred. You know, you might do something to somebody holds a strong grudge against you. Thought has power. Those strong thoughts come to you, and they can make it hard for you to find happiness, because that thought can influence your own life. So these are 3 areas in particular that we can use the spiritual screen to protect ourselves from lost spirits wandering the earth, spirits that have fallen to hell, and the thoughts of people directed towards us. Actually, Master Okawa said that possession causes 50% of illnesses, 70% of mental health problems, and 90% of marriage breakups. Because these hell spirits that are in the hell, they love negative energy. They want to fuel it. They love seeing people fighting. And if people create a negative mindset, their way of escaping hell is to attach themselves to the person. So if you've got somebody in hell, you know, just think, this is the hell mindset. I just want to be happy. I don't care if it causes misery to other people. I really don't care about them so long as I'm happy. That's the mindset of a hell spirit. So you're in hell and you're down there, and you know, you can see people, they can't see you. It's like looking through a glass floor. But then you find somebody on earth that's got a similar mindset to you, and you can find that you can actually, because the vibrations are the same, like a magnet, you can attach yourself to them, and you can live your life through them. A hell spirit's not going to think, oh, I better not do that, that's going to make the poor person suffer. You know, they don't think like that. If there's a way to get out, they'll be happy to get out. So once a person becomes afflicted by an evil spirit, this dark cloud embodies their spiritual body. And as I said before, from the spiritual body, it manifests into the physical body, and people get illness. But that's how illness also can be cured quite quickly, because if a person changes their mind, the vibration changes, and they start emanating light, this evil spirit can no longer stay with them. It has to disappear. It separates. And from there, the spiritual body very quickly heals because it is now full of light. And from there, the physical body also quickly heals because it becomes full of light. And so it's just cause and effect. You may have seen this picture at the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo, which is a map of the spirit world. There's a little detail there, but some people might think in religion that's the idea that there's heaven and there's hell. And 50% heaven and 50% hell, and it's just half and half, and God's got a big battle on his hands. But in actual fact, you can use my little pointer here, but we can see that it's only just down in this bottom right-hand corner here. This is the depiction of hell. It's a tiny little area of the spirit world. It's like the sludge of heaven. It's a little bit like if you got a glass and you put a little bit of dirt in there and you mixed it up and it was murky, and then you let it sit. And at the very bottom, a little sludge would form. This is like what hell is like. The majority of the world is actually a spirit world full of light. So we should never think of hell as being too powerful, and it certainly cannot affect us if we don't create a mind that can attract the thoughts from those hellish beings. This is a little bit of a better or a clearer picture of the spirit world. As I was saying before about the ninth dimension at the very top in the Saviour's realm, and from there we just move down through the different dimensions of 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd dimension is the world we're living here on earth. See, the three-dimensional world, everything has height, width and depth. This is three-dimensional world, and everything's made of physical matter, and it's just a world of physicality. But the next world, the 4th dimension, Master said that there has to be a new element that's added to make it a new dimension, and the new element that's added there is time. Once again, we won't go into this. We've got other seminars that, like the 9 Dimensions seminar, which you can see on YouTube as well, but that talks about how in this world, for us all to be here now today, we all have to be in the same place at the same time. And these two chairs cannot occupy the same place at the same time. If we try to push two chairs together, they cannot. They bang against each other. That's the nature of being material. In the spirit world, it's not like that. You can be walking down the street and two souls can be going past each other and they can go straight through each other. So they can be in the same place at the same time. But once we get back to that other world, it must take a little bit of actual conditioning, just like when we're born into this world. It takes us a while to get used to it. When we return back to that world, it's going to take a little while to learn to fly. Okay, how good will it be to fly? Well, we can all fly because when we don't have a physical body and your thought is everything, if you imagine, I'm lifting off the ground, whatever your thoughts will do is what will happen. And you can actually see that, like in this world, when you see babies, right, they have no fear about like falling off the bed or walking across the road in front of a car. Because in the other world there was no such thing as being hit by a car or falling off a bed, because there's no such thing as gravity. So that's why babies, they take a while to learn about the conditions in this world. But it's because they've come from another world where the conditions were so completely different, and it takes a little while to get used to it here. But anyway, as I said, this is another seminar on the 9 dimensions, and if you get a chance, please go on YouTube and look up the 9 dimensions. But this explains clearly about the state of the mind in all the different dimensions, from the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. And the 4th dimension really is an instinctual love. It's animals even have it, and even plants and animals have souls, right? So they'll also go back here. But the 5th dimension, the realm of the good, this is the beginning of heaven. The realm of light is for leaders. The 7th dimension, the realm of angels, and then from up there we get the great angels, and people like Lincoln and people like Gandhi and people like Martin Luther King. People who are the great people who changed the world. They exist at this top in this 8th dimension. Okay, so possession ultimately comes from the mind of having. Right? So the mind is everything. The core of our soul is our mind. The mind of having is what creates possession. So what we're just going to look at now is how to avoid possession. See, before we create a spiritual barrier, if we have the understanding about how to avoid the possession, then our spiritual barrier is actually going to be powerful, because we're not going to be attracting the spirits in the first place. But if we don't have the right mindset, it doesn't matter about creating a spiritual barrier, because as soon as you start thinking differently, then you're just going to attract the negative spirits again. So the first part is to understand that possession comes from a mind of having. So the mind of having is the same as attachment in Buddhism. It's mine. She's mine, he's mine, it's mine. I want to own that. It belongs to me. In one of our sutras, we've got a wonderful thing that says, there is no me, there is no mine. This is the understanding of egolessness in Buddhism. And back to what I said, the very truth at the beginning, where you're a spiritual being, you're not a physical body. If we really relate that this is not me, this is just my vehicle in this life, and that everything is leaving this world eventually, there's no need to have attachments. It's only attachments that create our suffering in our life. The more you attach yourself to something, of how something has to be, how someone has to be yours, or how I really must have that, otherwise I can't be happy, the more we're going to suffer. So this idea of getting rid of the mind of having is really important to be able to not attract evil spirits, and also to be able to be, living happily every day. And this is the other idea. This is the idea of I'm going to cover shortly an idea about same wavelengths attracting. But for you to be possessed, you have to have something in your mind that resonates with the evil spirit. As I was just talking about before, even the spirit world, you've got the angels and you've got all the different spirits in between. You can only be possessed if there's something in your mind that resonates with that evil spirit. And it's really going to go back to some sort of attachment. I saw a story a little while back in Australia here, and I was really disappointed. I'm from New Zealand, and the guy was a New Zealander himself, and what he did was just so shocking. But it was all based on attachment. He had a girlfriend, and they'd had a baby, and she left him. He must have felt so attached to her. She's mine. That's my baby, and she's mine. And, he was so attached to her that he was stalking her. And then when she dropped the kid off at the kindergarten, he was in his car and he followed her and he drove her off the road. And then while she's trapped in a car, during the accident, she had knocked something off a fire hydrant, some big piece of metal. And while she's trapped in a car, he goes up with that piece of metal and smashes her in the head and kills her. That's attachment. That's attachment. If he had no attachment, if he didn't have the mind of having, that never would have happened, and the guy wouldn't be in jail now. But it was all because he felt, she's mine and I have this right, and she's made me so angry by doing that. But once we understand in this world that there is nothing that stays the same, there is nothing that's mine, there is really no me, and everything that's happening around me is always changing, and everything's part of my soul training, everything's an experience given to me by God, we can have a really carefree state of mind. We can accept whatever happens, and we don't have to build that way of thinking. Yeah, so that's a real, in these instances we can see the extreme state of attachment, but all of us have it to a certain degree. And of course we don't go to that degree, but whatever degree we have it is what can cause us suffering, and it can also cause us to be influenced by negative spirits. So when we're living our lives with a carefree state of mind and happily, we're surrounded like this beautiful light, and we've got the light of heaven, and we're feeling really good, and life's going really well. But things can happen, like you could lose your job, or your partner could split from you, or something could happen in your life that just makes you feel. Somebody says something to you, and you feel, what? How can you say that? I hate that person. Fancy saying that. In an instant, people can start to create this negativity, and once they create negativity in their mind, what it does is the whole environment around them changes, and they start to attract, like a magnet, evil spirits. And evil spirits then start whispering into them, telling them how to think. Yeah, that's not fair. Fancy treating you like that. So this is the sort of thing, if we don't have that thought in the first place, then we can never receive these thoughts from the evil spirits. Yeah. As I said before, we must have said that 50% of illness and 70% of mental health, 70% of the people in the mental institutes that are they're being possessed. Right? So doctors try giving them drugs to fix them. The problem isn't the actual person's got not something wrong with their brain, it's got something wrong with their thinking, and then they're being influenced by evil spirits. So through Happy Science, what we would do would be to help them to change their way of thinking about themselves, discover their divine nature, love themselves and love God, and change the vibration of their mind. As soon as they change the vibration of their mind, the evil spirit would go, and they'd find that their real thinking came back. So just trying to fix it with drugs doesn't work. It needs to be done through changing people's mind by helping them discover their true self, their divine nature. Thoughts are so important. So let's hear Master Okawa talking about how people become possessed.
I am to go into greater detail of the reasons why possession occurs, I cannot do so without mentioning the law of same wavelengths attraction. This law is a major teaching of Happy Science, and is one that I would like you all to grasp a clear understanding of. Although you are currently living on Earth as three-dimensional beings, Your mind is always in contact with the world beyond because it is the central core of your soul. The mind can be described as an electromagnet, which always generates spiritual radio waves. The mind is in a state of constant exchange with the spirit world. The two are affecting and being affected by each other. The question of just what this electromagnet attracts to it provides us with the key to understanding possession. If you wish to know what kind of spirit is in possession of you at the moment, or what kind of spirit is likely to come to you, all you have to do is examine the state of your mind. In most cases, your mind will be in contact with spirits that share the same type of thoughts. This law of same wavelengths attraction is quite difficult to comprehend, but an instinctive understanding of the subject is quite accurate. Consider a television. If the television is not tuned into a certain channel, it won't show any image. But when the channel is tuned properly, the image is quite clear. The same is true of the radio. If it's tuned in properly, the FM programs can be heard. But if the frequencies do not match, you will hear nothing. That is how it is with the mind. Various kinds of broadcast wavelengths are emitted from the realms of heaven or hell, but if the people on earth are not tuned into these, they will not be able to receive them. Possession takes place when the frequencies of the mind come into alignment. So what is the main thing to be careful of? Well, there is an envious mind, one that is filled with envy for others. Next is a heart that is always filled with dissatisfaction and complaint. Then there is the kind of heart that is forever cursing or abusing others, hurting them with bad words. There is a cynical heart, and there is a heart that suffers from a persecution complex. Basically, the majority of people who are spiritually disturbed suffer from persecution complexes. They believe that they're always bullied and that they always lose out. The other side of this complex is a tendency to always put the blame on others. They blame their parents, their friends, their teachers, their superiors at work, their colleagues, their lovers, the environment, their job, the economy, anything but themselves. They think it is never their fault. It's always somebody else who deserves the blame. It is people who have a tendency to avoid any responsibility themselves that hellish spirits find easy to approach. Another kind of negative heart's an angry heart. Everybody loses their temper at times, but people who become angry on a regular basis, who are always in a rage, are generally in tune with hell. People who are filled with unreasonable rage will find that they attract hell spirits. In this way, people who soon lose their temper, who say terrible things, who complain, always blaming others for their misfortune, will be approached by hell spirits. The opposite is also true. People with a low sense of self-esteem, a low opinion of themselves, people who think they are no good, who are rubbish, who think they are beyond help, and that it would have been better if they were never born, will also find that they attract hell spirits. Their hearts are also hidden under dark clouds. According to Buddhist doctrine, the main factors that create a negative mind can be summed up as greed, anger, foolishness, pride, doubt, and false view. Greed is excessive desire. Everybody possesses desire, but if it's taken too far, it appears very ugly to others. He is too greedy. He doesn't do much work, but he's always trying to get a rise. He's trying to make money without doing anything. A favourite theme in samurai movies is that of the local administrator who gets defeated by a virtuous hero. In these stories, the administrator is generally greedy. Those who are willing to break the laws enforce to make a profit. This kind of person can be said to suffer from excessive greed. The next delusion is anger, about which I spoke earlier. It's the kind of heart that suddenly flies into a rage, is prone to possession by animal spirits, particularly snakes. Next, we have foolishness. This refers to the kind of person who makes many mistakes and creates their own suffering. In particular, there is foolishness with regard to religious truth. There are many people who claim the opposite to religious truth, who believe the opposite of what I preach. They think that pleasure is everything in this world. They devote themselves to pleasure and do not search for anything spiritual. People who only seek happiness through material or physical things are fools. This is what is meant by foolishness. Even though they may have a high IQ and be able to excel in their studies at school, a person may still be a fool. Pride stems from the heart of conceit. The conceit brings them down and makes them suffer. The road to hell can be created through suffering. There are many people who fail in their aims due to conceit. The next is doubt, and when I talk of it in this context, I'm generally referring to the doubt of the truth of Buddha. But it also includes suspicion, a tendency to suspect others and not to be tractable. The final factor, false view, refers to somebody who has a wrong outlook. There are numerous mistaken outlooks, and some of them are taught in schools. These become political and economic ideologies, and sometimes they're adopted by organizations or religious groups who teach mistaken ideas. Once you've become possessed by a mistaken idea, you'll see everything wrongly. For this reason, somebody who's a member of a mistaken religion will find it most difficult to achieve enlightenment. I think that salvation will prove impossible until they decide to leave the organization. It'll be hard to achieve enlightenment while in a gang of robbers. So it'll be difficult to find the truth while in a group of people who believe in a false ideology. There are many false views in the world today. Even among intellectuals, false views are extremely common. The worst disseminator of wrong views is journalism, due to the mistaken reports that appear in the newspapers, on the television and the like. The world is flooded with false ideas. As a result of the ensuing confusion, hell is able to regenerate itself regularly. You should think of all these delusions as the foundations for a negative heart. In addition, on an emotional level, sudden rage, complaining, and placing the blame on others also denote a negative mind. Basically, somebody whose words, actions, and lifestyles are bad can be said to express a bad heart. There are many spiritual beings who actively try to hinder me, and in order to prevent them from succeeding, I have to make a systematic defense. This can be achieved through the efforts of the individuals as well as by the use of a barrier. The various branches of Happy Science also serve as a form of barrier. Believers come to visit and take part in ceremonies in the prayer rooms. A kind of spiritual aura guards the branches, and naturally, this is even truer of the Shoshinkan, as they combine to create a barrier. In the home, if the whole family believes in the teachings of Happy Science and recite the Dharma of the right mind, watch videos, listen to CDs, read books about the truth, and carry out self-reflection, then a barrier will be created around the house, making it difficult for stray spirits to enter. The inside of the house will become a kind of fortress to protect them from the outside world. In order to prevent possession by stray spirits, it's important that the individual should retain harmony in their mind and look after their physical health. In order to maintain your defense, you should work with friends or other believers to protect yourself. In particular, you should create barriers in our branches and shojas, and in your own home that will prevent the stray spirits from entering. This is most important, and it's a good idea if you go about it in a systematic way.
As you can see, he's just so clear in his teaching, and everything's so logical in his teaching. And actually, this is how he goes about writing his books. Like I said, he's published over 2,200 books. This is how he writes his books. In the early days, he used to write books and give lectures, but he found he didn't have enough time to do both. So, looking for the third way, he decided, I'll make my lectures into books. So he started doing it so he could give a lecture every second day and do it in such a way that 2 or 3 lectures would become a book. But he never has notes. He just stands and delivers the teachings so genuinely, so directly, and pretty much what he says gets directly put in the book. And then when you read the book, the logic of it all and the order it follows is just incredible. So, yeah, there's nothing strange about this teaching and this idea of trying to create harmony in the homes and how you can create a spiritual barrier in your home by when he said, people should get together and study the teachings and self-reflect. What he's saying they're studying is what he just spoke about here, which we'll go through. He said, the same of the law of same wavelength attraction. So he's teaching whatever state of mind we create, we'll attract a similar type of spirit to influence us. Very simple law, right? Like attracts like. Then he said, check for the 3 poisons of the mind and the 6 worldly delusions. Well, this is very much a Buddhist teaching, which was that the first 3 were greed, anger and foolishness. These were the 3 poisons of the mind, and the next 3 were arrogance, doubt and wrong views. So we're not going to go into them too much, but this is because the seminar is only so long. But that's very clear teaching, right? What to look for in the mind. It says, you should self-reflect and look to find, since your mind is everything and your mind is going to influence your life. If you look for greed, do I have greed? Do I try to take too much? Am I trying to get things without make any effort? Do I just want to have a windfall? Or do I really think, if I work hard, I'll get what I deserve? Anger, do I go into anger? Am I foolish? Do I keep making the same mistakes? Arrogance, do I have arrogance? See, this is the interesting thing. I think arrogance is an interesting one because we don't want to have a little nature where I'm too afraid to feel strong, but we don't want to have a nature that says I'm great and I want to knock everybody else down. But this is the wonderful thing about when we understand the truth, that I'm a spiritual being with divine nature. How wonderful is that? I have the same nature as God. But God is so great. God created the universe, right? So God is so great. I'm so tiny compared to God. And yet God created me, and I have the seed of God. And in that way I have the same aspect as God. Oh, how wonderful that is. So on one hand we can feel so wonderful. We are such amazing, incredible beings, which enables us to feel the wonder of the greatness. But on the other hand, we can reflect and see where we are in our position next to God, and that brings us back down to size. So that way we can have both, the both through understanding the truth. And doubt, doubt would even be doubting that devils exist. If a person said, there's no such thing as the other world, there's no such thing as devils, I can think what I like, it's not going to make any difference to my life. That's an aspect of doubt that will create a problem in our life through a worldly delusion. And wrong views, as he said. I remember when I was in Japan at that time in 1996, there was one religion where the guy was saying that he was the Buddha, and he was saying the world was going to end. And he managed to somehow build quite a lot of followers. And but then he went about to try to end the world. He started gassing people in Tokyo. He was building cars that were going to pour gas through the streets of Tokyo, and even gas some people in the subways. Actually, Master Okawa warned the police about this, and eventually they listened, and they found that he was building sarin gas. He had a site and they were building sarin gas. So that's wrong view. You've got someone teaching I'm the Buddha and the world's going to end, and then they start trying to make it happen. So right view is very important. And in Happy Science, right view is very much, as I explained at the very beginning, is believing that I'm a spiritual being, I came from the other world, my life is about soul training, I have divine nature, and I should try and make that divine nature shine as much as possible. That's a right view. Okay, so we now have a nice little excerpt that shows Buddha creating a spiritual screen, because in Happy Science, Buddhism is a very much big part of the teachings of Happy Science, because the essence of the teachings of Happy Science really are the same as in Buddhism. And Buddha attained enlightenment about 2,500 years ago, and the teachings of Buddhism was because he went through an experience and he had the enlightenment. But during the moment of his enlightenment, he had to face the devil. And during that time, because of his mind and his way of thinking, he was actually able to create a spiritual screen. So I think this depicts a really wonderful idea, or to be able to see how simple thoughts that were disturbing his mind as he was going into his enlightenment. I mean, Buddha was in deep self-reflection, but to the point where he opened up his mind to the spirit world, and he started to be able to hear the voices from the other world. But he was trying to be convinced by somebody that was actually a devil that they were God, trying to lead him in the wrong way. But this just depicts so clearly how even something so simple as an attachment to his family that was creating worry in his heart, which made a wavelength in his mind that was a negative wavelength, that's what enabled the spirit to speak to him and tell him lies. So then when he saw the truth and understand the truth, he was able to strongly create a mind that created a spiritual barrier. This is actually about 15 minutes long, but I think it's a really nice and valuable. There's so many lessons to see and hear. So this is Buddha 2,500 years ago, sitting at the bottom of the pipal tree just as he's about to attain his enlightenment.
Siddhartha, I have finalized the arrangements for your wedding. Yashodhara will be a good queen for our Shakya clan. I have nothing to worry about anymore. Right?
Are you Yashodhara?
Now, Siddhartha, come with me.
The pleasures of the flesh will only bring about pain and suffering. True happiness does not and never will exist in such pleasures. The devil. You are the daughters of Mara. And yet there must be the light of angels within each one of you. You have merely forgotten this, and so you are filled with greed and driven to do evil. That is why you must suffer in hell. If you wish to be beautiful like an angel, make your heart and mind beautiful.
Siddhartha! Gautama Siddhartha! I am the god who countless numbers of generations have long worshipped. I am Brahma. I was very impressed. You have become quite enlightened. But young Siddhartha, in your relentless pursuit of enlightenment, you have forgotten something very important that will affect your quest. You have neglected a basic principle of being human. You have abandoned your father. Am I wrong?
Unacceptable! Absolutely not! Who will rule this country while you run off to become a monk? Especially in these times of war, our Shakya clan is constantly vulnerable and exposed. It's not as if you don't know about these dangers. You are both strong and intelligent. You are respected and loved by the people. Siddhartha, you can protect this country. You are my only hope. The future of the Shakya clan lies with you. What will we do without you?
Your heart must be aching. That is natural for a human. Oh yes, I remember now. You also left your mother crying and heartbroken.
There you are. Prajapati,
What is it, Your Majesty?
what are you thinking about?
About Siddhartha. I was simply wondering if I was ever a good enough mother to him.
You did everything for that boy. You loved him as your own when his real mother passed away. You are not responsible for his decision to become a monk. Do not let it concern you.
Yet I have even more pity for the wife and child that you abandoned. Isn't it the most important thing for you human beings to get married and find happiness through your family life?
Wait a minute, Siddhartha. Don't go.
My father. He has grown old. Should I return to the palace of Kapila to succeed my father to the throne?
Yes, that is exactly what you should do now. Hurry back and return to the palace. You will make everyone happy. You have tried your best, and that is good enough. Now go back to your home and live for the happiness of your family and clan. You may remain spiritual by keeping in contact with me, Brahma. You should try to enjoy your life as much as possible in this world. After all, isn't that why you were born into this world? The more you enjoy yourself in this world, the greater your happiness will be in the next.
The more I enjoy myself in this world. I was unable to find any clues for enlightenment through ascetic discipline. And yet, the luxurious life of the palace seemed just as empty. Physical pain as well as physical pleasure, both extremes must be denied. The middle path between pain and pleasure must be followed in order to pursue the truth. The more I enjoy myself in this world, the greater my happiness will be in the next. Perhaps it is my attachment to this world, still lurking in my mind, that is causing these thoughts. You are not Brahma.
How can you say that to me, Siddhartha? I am merely concerned about you.
Quiet. You are Mara, the devil. I can see your true form.
But Siddhartha! Once again, you have impressed me with your abilities. So, you have discovered my true identity. Well, you should have gone back to the palace while you still had the chance. Prepare yourself! Come forth, my invincible warriors! No one in heaven or earth can defeat you! Yet this man is trying to humiliate us and is attempting to deprive us of our rightful home.
Show him the fires of your rage and destroy him. Burn him with your flames of hate.
Listen carefully. Even if there is no one in heaven or on earth who can defeat your troops, I will still defeat you by using the power of infinite wisdom which I possess. No matter what kind of thoughts I have, even considerate thoughts for my family, if they turn into attachment, they will cause great suffering. I must become unattached. I must become like the water in a stream that keeps running. I must pass on my knowledge of this enlightenment to others.
So this is a depiction of Buddha's enlightenment, right? This is what happened when Buddha attained his enlightenment and he was challenged by the devil. And you know, the reason why the devil challenged him at that time was because if he had given up at that time and gone back to the castle, there wouldn't be Buddhism in the world today. It was only because, and that's why the devil wanted to, defeat him. Just get this back on target. Okay, just one moment. Devil must be attacking my computer, so he doesn't want me to carry on with this. But so basically, he was, he wanted to defeat, Buddha at that time, And you could see how the worries, it was the worries in his mind, about thinking about his family. I abandoned my father, I abandoned my wife, I abandoned my child. Now, he didn't abandon them like a person normally abandons somebody. The reason Buddha, when he left his wife and child and left them all, was because he wanted to seek enlightenment. He wanted to find teachings that would lead people to the truth. He wanted to know the truth. And through that, actually, the other nice thing is that, he didn't really exactly abandon them. They were all in a very good situation and a position because the family was very well taken care of. They were part of a kingdom. So it's not like he left them out on the streets, Of course, emotionally they would have been suffering because he left them, but they were not, left without anything. They were very well looked after. So one of the things that's really important is acquiring wisdom to overcome our problems, right? We all have problems in our life and difficulties in our life. And it's when we have those problems and difficulties that actually we can attract the negativity in our life. That's when the problems occur. So it might be a problem at work, it might be a problem in our relationship, many, many types of problems that create a bit of a negativity or worry in our heart. And these are the times that we can attract this negativity. So that's why wisdom is so important. And that's why in Happy Science, we aim to study, once again, I'm not going to go into this, but we've got a fourfold path of love, wisdom, self-reflection and progress. We really try to acquire wisdom to solve life's problems because in that wisdom we can protect ourselves. Now this has been the first part about how it actually happens. Now I'm just going to get this computer back sorted because the next part is how to create the spiritual screen. So, thanks for bearing with me. So this is how we get affected by the negative spirits, right? The fact that we create the worries in our mind and we get a vibration in our mind, that gives us a chance to have the negativity. So the first part is not to allow that to happen, right? So this is really the first part. Make sure that we have that. Then how do we create a spiritual screen? Well, the first part is to release the attachments by understanding the law of impermanence, right? We can have this carefree mind, as I was talking about before, where nothing really matters, right? I'm here just undergoing my soul training. Everything's changing. It's like the river where water's there one moment and then it's gone the next moment. Our lives are like that. Nothing stays the same. And that includes good times and bad times. So we shouldn't be attached too much to good times as well, right? And don't be too worried about the bad times because everything passes. Everything's passing. And everything has something to teach us. So there's something valuable in there for my soul training. So then we can accept it and learn from it. So in good times we should try to remain humble, and in bad times we should just try to stay really positive. Yep. So this is a very short excerpt from Master Okawa, talking about how to release attachments.
If you attach too much to someone and it's not so sacred and it's not ready to love that gives, but love that takes, it belongs to love that takes. It's a different mind you should have. So you must check your mind and correct yourself and be transparent at that time. And be transparent. Transparent means like the water, like the air, or that kind of see-through beings. Be free as a clean stream of the river, and think that everything is passing by. Everything is passing by through me. Today must be changed into yesterday, and tomorrow comes surely, and today will passing away to tomorrow and go away to long, long ago, passing by, and it's unseenable past it shall be. So everything is passing by, and nothing can be stopped as it is. Status quo. So if you attach to something, it will throw away from your fingers and run away like a stream of the river. So no one can stop something as it is. There is nothing imperishable in this world. There is nothing endurable in this world. Imperishable can be used as imperishable law. Eternal law can be imperishable, but there is nothing imperishable, endurable in this world. Everything is passing by. Everything is destroyable. So don't attach to anything in front of you. This world is a shadow. This world is not real. The real world is waiting for you within years or several years. And at that time, all the people who are living in this world will experience the truth. And at that time, the soul, your mind, can find that everything was experience, just experience. Or this world is a training course prepared by God or Buddha. And so don't attach anything in this world. And at that time, you cannot have anything that attract or evil spirits. I mean, they can discover anything in you or around you that they want to get. And at the time, be transparent. Think that everything is going by.
So, you may wonder why Master was moving around a little bit, because his video was edited a little bit, because, you know, in amongst all his writing so many books, he also studies English so he can try to speak English to us. So, you know, his English may not be perfect, but boy, we should have some gratitude that he makes so much effort to learn English, so that in amongst his such a busy schedule of creating so many books in Japanese. He's also studies German to try to explain it in German. So, yeah, he's really tried so hard to, in so many ways. So his English isn't perfect, and someone has edited that video to try to get rid of some of the ums and ahs and the pauses. But essentially he was saying, be transparent and think that everything is passing by. This is the way to not attract the evil spirits in the first place. So this is the idea of impermanence in Buddhism. So check the mind, make it transparent. Everything's passing by. Don't be attached to anything. This is the first part. You know, realize nothing stays forever. This world's just a training ground for my soul. Everything is moving by, you know, and that way you cannot have any attachments, and then you don't create any real worries in your mind. Okay, and one key way to do that is reflect. You know, in Happy Science, as I mentioned, the fourfold path: love, wisdom, self-reflection, and progress. The self-reflection is really the key to finding the things within us that we want to change. You know, we need to spend quiet time, reflect. Do I have any attachments? What's causing my suffering? Find them and then cut them away. Okay. So now this is the final part of creating a spiritual screen. This other part has been about how not to attract evil spirits, right? Because there's no point in having a spiritual screen if you've got the mind that's attracting evil spirits all the time, because you're just going to be so busy trying to keep up a screen, you're likely to create an evil screen rather than a spiritual screen, right? So we have to have the right mind to start with, the transparent mind, right, without any strong attachments. And the final part is to use the power of God through faith and prayer. Now, this last part by Master is only 2 minutes long, but it's him exerting, saying the sort of prayer that we can use to create the spiritual screen. Because as I was saying before, the thought is everything. Thought is power. Thoughts, as I said, living people can put thoughts on people to make them unhappy. So those thoughts in the spirit world, they are actual entity. In the other world, actually, thought is everything. So we can use thought as well in the same way. So what we're going to see here, and he uses the word Alcantari. I mean, you'll see up here it says Alcantari. As I explained at the beginning, to us, Alcantari is the same as God. It's the same as Buddha. It's the same as Allah. But it's actually the name of God. Alcantari, light of the earth. So when you see that word Alcantari, for us, that's just the same as saying God. Yeah. Okay, so let's hear Master Okawa just to show how to use a prayer If you're feeling that you're being influenced by an evil spirit or negative spirit, this is how you can create the spiritual screen. And you'll see it's actually a little similar to Buddha in that excerpt we had where he put his finger on the ground and strongly said I recognize who you are. You are not God. You are the devil. And it's just a strong way like that. Okay.
After that, please pray like the following. In the name of Lord Ercantare, in the name of Lord Ercantare, get away, go away, evil spirit, get away, evil spirit, go away, evil spirit. You cannot intrude into this sacred atmosphere. I'm concentrating on to make Bhutan utopia, and I'm exercising to get my spiritual growth. So don't bother me. Don't disturb me. Just get away from here. In the name of Ercantare. In the name of Lord Ercantare. Get away from here. Get away from here. Go away from here. Go away from here. I'm just concentrate on Ercantare. I'm with the Ercantare. In the light of Ercantare. Think like that. And there should appear Kekai, a spiritual screen around you. There should appear a spiritual screen or a spiritual barrier around you. No evil spirit can touch you or influence you or talk to you. They cannot intrude your sacred atmosphere. And at the time you can get the spiritual screen, and you can protect yourself, and you can protect your sacred atmosphere and sacred shoja or Shiv shoja or another Shoshinkan shoja or your own home. That is the easy way of how to create a spiritual screen. Thank you very much.
Master saying it in English may be quite different from how he'd say it in Japanese, but you can imagine, you are saying, you are recognizing that you're being bothered. And just as you would shoo away maybe an animal or something that was bothering you, in the name of Lord Ercantare, get away from here, get away from here, get away from here. Get away from here. I'm just concentrating on Ercantare, and I'm with Ercantare. I'm in the light of Ercantare. These strong thoughts create a barrier around you because your thoughts are being manifested in your reality in the spirit world. So, yeah, thoughts have real power like that. So if we have this little, please don't bother me, please don't hurt me. Yeah, great. That's like the bully, The bully wants to pick on the weak person. But if you are really strong about it and you have strong faith is also a great power. All religions teach the power of faith. You have to strongly believe, and when you're strong belief, this actually brings the power from the heavenly world. So strong belief and these sorts of words, this is what can make the difference, and you can banish any evil spirits. Yeah, and you can create a wonderful place in your home. Actually, Master teaches the way to create utopia is each individual working to create this mind that can give out light and then create light in the home, create a harmonious home, so the house is full of light and the house has a spiritual barrier. And when it goes from the individual to the family, to the society, to the countries, to the world, this is how we create the ideal world. It's not God come along and wave a magic wand. It's giving teachings that teach each individual how to do it for themselves and then take it into the families, into the societies, into the countries. And then we have a really solid utopia that can't be broken. If we were just God waved a magic wand and we're all made happy and somehow the world was wonderful, it wouldn't take long before it fell back again, because it'd be like a parents coming and tidying up the messy children's bedroom, and then tomorrow come back and the bedroom's a mess again because the kids never really learnt. So this is our way of learning the truth, how to control our minds, how to create a harmony in our lives and in our families. One last thing I'd like to say is just within Happy Science, anybody who's here today, I guess many of you would have the little blue book that we have, which is the Dharma of the Right Mind. You may have received that at the Expo. If anybody didn't receive that at the Expo, it's a very powerful tool for being able to also dispel evil spirits. I've got a picture here. Within Happy Science, we have gohonzons, which are things that we use to be able to pray, to receive the light from the heaven. But up in the top right-hand corner there's one that's called the Dharma of the Right Mind. Today, everyone should have the little blue book, and I really strongly suggest to get that copy of that book. To get that, you just become a friendship member of Happy Science, which says, I think this sounds pretty good, I'd like to know more, maybe experience, see how it works for myself. You can do that just by filling in one of these forms. There's no cost or anything like that. And then as people go along, they have a taste that this teaching really works. This teaching's really great, and the next stage is to become what we call a devotee, and that's when you become a disciple of the Buddha. But that's we can talk about that. That's not to be talked about now because there's a lot of explanation. But it's basically taking it to the next step. But the first step, I suggest anybody who hasn't already received the little blue book, just get one of these forms out there. One of the staff will be happy to give it to you, and then you can receive that little Dharma book. So let's just finish up today by reciting this in that little blue book. There's one there called Words of Truth, the Dharma of the Right Mind. Does anybody not have a blue book? Everybody has one? Okay. Do you have one? Okay. So the words in that prayer also came directly from the consciousness of Buddha. I mean, Master wrote these words without thinking. It was automatic writing. He sat there and the words just flowed through and his hands wrote. So this came from the consciousness of Buddha. So this is also a very powerful way to defeat negativity. And he suggests that we actually use these even in our lives. In the morning, we get up in the morning, we recite these words to remind ourselves the truth, who I am, the meaning of my life. Then go into the day, and at the end of the day do some self-reflection and recite these words again before going to bed. So twice a day at least. But during the day, if ever you felt you're being bothered by some sort of thought, some sort of negative thinking, having trouble keeping your mind bright, if you recite these words, also once again you'll find that your mindset changes really quickly. Well, that's on the spiritual screen today. Unless anybody has any questions on how to create a spiritual screen or anything that was spoken about today. Does anybody have a question?
You just want to make a point that Jesus even commanded